Hi, welcome to Social. I'm Christine Gritmon. I do this every Friday live at noon, where I talk to someone else in the social media field or a small business owner or both about social media and what's going on and how they're using it. And today I have a very special guest, my first international guest, which is exciting. And actually next week I have a foreign guest too, which is very cool. This is just working out really nicely. And we're going to talk, I'll introduce him in a second, but we're going to talk about Facebook ad targeting. And that's something that's very important to do, especially as we approach the holidays. And for those of you who missed it, I'm actually leading a local workshop here in Rockland next Friday the 17th about Facebook audience targeting. It's going to be a really concentrated workshop where you literally bring your laptop, and I don't just tell you how to do it, we do it. But in the meantime, we're going to talk about why that's important and what you can do with my special guest. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
First of all, I'd like to thank you, Christine, for having me here. It's a great opportunity to discuss such an interesting topic. And hopefully I will give you all the information you need to know in order to optimize your performance on Facebook.
Great. Tell us about yourself and your company first.
So we have this kind of newborn digital agency. We called it Slide-In. Slide-In because we really need people to understand and companies to understand that it's important to dig deep in order to optimize, in order to grow your business, but in a sustainable way. So Slide-In is the name of our digital agency. We undertake different products or different projects that has to do with several things like advertising or marketing automations or market research, and I could say that it's going pretty well.
Great. And Slide-In has a cute little penguin as the logo, which I really like.
yeah, exactly.
And your name, you're Georgios Chasiotis?
I am Georgios Chasiotis, but you could just say George because I can see that it's difficult to pronounce it. George is fine.
Okay, great.
Yeah, George is fine.
And you are coming at us from Greece, which is very exciting. But you work all over the world. Slide-In works with customers anywhere because the internet is so global.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things I enjoy the most. The fact that you have the power to to work from pretty much everyone from all around the world. That's a great opportunity, and that's really something. Yeah.
And the rules of Facebook ad targeting are kind of going to be the same anywhere, because regardless, you're targeting certain people in certain places or people who are interested in certain things everywhere. So let's talk about Facebook ad targeting and some of the things that you think are the most important elements of it so that people can make sure they're not wasting their money.
Sure. First of all, let me just say that this June, Facebook for the first time hit 2 billion monthly active users. Yep. That means that the platform is always growing, and we don't know where this is going to end. Okay, it's like a commonplace nowadays. Everyone wants to be advertised on Facebook, and those who don't, I mean, they should be, because too many people are spending 2 or 3 hours a day in the platform. So it's like an opportunity. Let me just say, Christine, that nowadays there are too many articles, there are too many, online training courses, there are too many videos, how-to videos. The information is out there, but even though there is plenty of information, nothing is useful unless you start executing. You Yep. have to start executing. Some of the world's famous marketeers like Neil Patel, they are famous and they are pretty successful at what they do because they executed, they yes. experimented, they did all these things, so they can talk about it.
Exactly.
So
Facebook
when it comes
doesn't
to
tell you here's how to optimize. It gives you tips, but the fact is it ultimately it doesn't really want to save you money. Facebook wants you to pour money into ads. And so if you're going to figure out the way to crack that algorithm to make sure you're getting the most bang for your buck, you need to experiment. You need to play with these things. And you need to hear from people like you and me who are out there doing it. So what have you learned?
Exactly. So when it comes to Facebook ads, I always, these are the 3 key points of my strategy. First of all, we start with targeting, the single most important thing when it comes to Facebook ads. And when I say targeting, I will present 3 tactics I personally use, okay? Start with the basics. Always start with the basics. Customer avatar. You have to carefully design your customer avatar. And when I say customer avatar, I work with many medium-sized companies, and the first thing I always ask is, okay, can I see, your customer avatar? And 9 out of 10 times, the answer I get is, okay, we know who our ideal client is. Don't bother. I mean, okay, let me just take a look. And when I take this look, I see that they barely managed to scratch the surface. The thing is that you have to dig deep here, and you have to dig really, really deep. You have to be able to answer questions like, what are my customers' pain points? What are their fears? What is their marital status, of course? Have they graduated from college? What books they like? What kind of movies they like? All these interesting things.
You need to flesh them out into a person with a full life and a full biography so that you figure out how you're fitting into that life.
Exactly. Let me ask you a question. If you go out and you walk into the street, okay, and somebody stranger, totally stranger, comes and asks you to marry him, would you say yes?
No.
No. Why? Because you don't know him. Yeah, that's a real answer. You don't know him. So why display your ads to someone that you don't know? And let's be honest, who doesn't care, because he sees like 100 adverts per day. So you have to know exactly who your ideal client is in order to try and reach him. Okay. So when I know what my customer avatar is, I write down, let's say, 30 different interests, okay? But it would be meaningless to use all these interests in just one custom audience. So what I do is create different custom audiences, okay? And the first 2 or 3 days, I test things with different ad copies in order to see what works, okay? So let's say we have 30 different interests, okay? Some things remain the same, of course, like demographics and stuff, but let's say we have the 30 interests. What I do is I make I create different variations, okay? And I create different ad copies, and I run ads on a small budget to see what works, and then I go all the way, okay? That's the first thing.
You see who's really responding, and you really put all your money towards who's responding, because it makes so much more sense to dump your ad money to the people who really want to see you, as opposed to putting ad money towards trying to convince people that they want to see you.
Exactly. You have to be extremely careful. I myself have lost, some thousands of euros. We have euros, you have dollars, but that's okay. With advertising, but that really made me understand that you cannot just approach someone and tell him or her, okay, that's my product, buy it. You have to be more you have to be more convincing, but in an effective way, okay? And it's extremely important to understand that in the beginning you have to go on a small budget just to test things. Don't go with all the money you have and spend it in and out. That's totally wrong, okay? Yep. So the first thing, the first thing was that. The second thing I always do is make a segment, make a list, create a list with my with customers that have the highest lifetime value, and I do that because I mean, let's face it, you have a warm audience, an audience that you know is going to spend, and an audience that you know is performing really well. So I create a segment, I create my custom audience and run different ads to those people. And sometimes what I do is create a lookalike to that audience in order to test this.
Yeah, that's a huge tool. That's fantastic.
Yeah, in order to test this as well. I mean, most of the times it works, and trust me, you want to test if it works because you have a really nice audience, and you want to see how a lookalike to that audience is going to perform. So why not test it? Okay. So that was the second one.
Understand what a lookalike audience is? That's basically you create your nice warm audience of the people you already have, and then Facebook sort of boils them down into demographic information and creates a lookalike audience of people who share that demographic information because they are very likely to be interested in purchasing the same types of things. So that's an incredible tool that so many people don't even realize they have at their disposal.
Exactly, and as I already told, I do that with a custom audience, but with clients that have the highest lifetime value. Mm-hmm. These guys are spending money, so it's extremely important. When it comes to ad targeting, last but not least, let's say you have a newsletter list, okay, and you have 4,000 subscribers, okay. Do not just upload this list and display ads to those people, because obviously not all of them are interested in your content. Okay. Instead, what you could do, especially if you use a tool like MailChimp, you could make segments based on important key metrics like open rate or click-through rate. Create a segment. Upload it on Facebook, create a custom audience, and run different ads, because it makes no point. It makes no sense to run ads to people who don't care. You want to display your ads to people who are more likely to interact with them. Okay, so that's my third tactic, which is extremely important if you ask me. Then. As we proceed, my second key point, Christine, is ad creative, ad copy. Extremely important. The tactics I use here is the first one. It's a bit controversial, but do not be afraid to exclude people. Let's say you have a software as a service company. That you sell software for experienced accountants, okay? You could create a nice ad with, of course, a nice ad creative, and your copy could say, do you have 20 or more years of experience as an accountant? Okay, this is what you need in order to organize your everyday working life. So when those people are going to see your ad, they are going to feel a bit, close. They're probably going to think, okay, these guys probably know what I'm going through on a daily basis. So they're probably not going to buy your product, or they may buy it, but that's okay. The thing is that they're going to feel that somebody understands me, somebody knows what I'm going through. So do not be afraid to exclude people from your ads.
Yeah, exactly. To your point, if you're going for someone who has 20 years experience in accounting, you don't want to run that ad to people who are 21 years old. You're going to exclude the people who do not have the necessary experience, so that you can focus on talking to the audience that you do want.
Exactly. So the second thing when it comes to ad copy and ad creative is try to speak your customers or potential customers' language. So a few weeks ago, we ran this ad for a local company, local business, and we used local copy. We localized our copy in order to see how our users going to react with it. And trust me, the results were pretty amazing, because if you're trying to use idioms or phrases that users are using in their everyday life, they're probably going to interact with it, because once again, they feel like somebody's understanding me, somebody knows what I'm feeling, somebody knows what I'm going through. And that's a really key point. You have to try and speak your clients or potential clients' language. The third piece of advice here is that's actually from Neil Patel, one of my favorites.
I follow him too.
If you don't tell users what to do, they're probably not going to do it. So let's say, for example, that you run a pretty nice sports blog, and you broadcasting news daily, and you want to generate traffic, and you run an ad, a traffic generation ad. Okay, instead of just saying myperfectsportsblog.com broadcasts daily news of daily sports news, you could just say we offer the best news you can get out there. So make sure you visit our website and you subscribe to our newsletter, will you? They're probably going to interact with it.
Tune in. Don't just, tell them you're there. Tell them to tune in. Tell them to click. Tell them to go read it.
I mean, it's pretty straightforward, but you have to let them know what you expect them to do in order to do it. If you'll never say it, they're probably not going to do it. They're probably not going to think of it. Okay, so just say it. Just say it, but in an effective way, in a way that they'll understand it. Okay, and the third key point of my strategy, which is not as related to targeting as much as related to targeting, but it's extremely important. It's the overall selling and delivery process. I mean, let's say that you have an e-commerce store, okay, and you want to run ads in order to generate sales. I mean, everybody wants that. What I do is that I always go through the whole process of, from the moment we take an order, we receive the order, until the moment the client receives the product at his home. Because if you do an extremely good job with your ads, I mean, you have extremely good ad copy, you have extremely good ad creatives, but you provide users with zero customer experience. I mean, your ads will perform less and less good as the time passes. I mean, it's extremely important to understand that it's not just Facebook ads. It's the whole thing. It's the whole thing. The product has to be optimized in order to be marketed. So make sure you optimize your overall selling process, and that you provide users with true value instead of just trying to sell. Okay. The second tactic I use here is I always ask for feedback. Let's say that you have a pixel planted in your dropshipping store, and you are able to have a custom audience with people who bought from you the last 30 days. Okay, so what I do, instead of just bombarding them with new ads, okay, buy this and buy that, I'm displaying ads to those people that say, was everything fine with your last order? Could we do something more to help you? Is there anything else that you need? I mean, you don't have to try to sell the whole time, because everyone is trying to do it. You have to try and understand your customers in a more effective way. And the third, last but not least, do not in any case go over promotional. You occasionally, from time to time, you have to thank your clients for choosing you instead of some of your competitors. So what I do is, when I have a segment of customers that I know, I mean, they bought from my store. Okay, what I often do is just display ads to them that say, "Thank you for being loyal, for choosing us instead of I don't know." It's extremely important to say just those two words, "Thank you," and do not just try to sell at all times. Yeah.
That's really important, because that's how you turn it into a relationship and not simply a transaction and you're done. Because relationships, of course, lead to more transactions, ideally. And regardless, you know, it's if you're in business, hopefully you do want to actually deliver value to somebody, as you said about delivering value. So hopefully it's not just to get the sale, it's not just to get their money, it's to deliver value so they keep coming back over and over again.
Exactly. Let me just say, Christine, personally, as a professional, I'm a huge fan of customer retention. As you already know, it costs up to 7 times more to acquire a new customer than to retain an existing one. So what do you prefer? I mean, do you prefer to have your existing ones satisfied, or spending more and more and more money to acquire new ones? I mean, don't get me wrong, everyone wants new customers, me as well. But I know the fact is that it costs more. So once you acquire a customer, do whatever it takes to make them happy in order to, as you said, to build a long-term relationship rather than a short-term one.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for laying out such a clear path on how to do exactly that, on how to, you and I were talking before we went live, and you said that, you know, big focus of Slide In is not just growth, but sustainability, being able to sustain your business. And the way you do that is by building relationships and not just focusing on the sell. So that's fantastic. Thank you so much for being on. I know we've got a few viewers. Does anyone want to ask any questions while we're here? And in the meantime, while you're here, I'm going to let people know that all of the stuff that we just talked about today, you can learn at my bootcamp next Friday, which will be in Haverstraw. So that's obviously for local people, but there'll be more happening. And I think we don't have questions at the moment, but thank you so much for being on. You were a fantastic guest. This was a great conversation. And yeah.
Thank you for the invitation.
Yeah, I look forward to staying in touch and to seeing each other's careers grow sustainably. And anyone who's just tuning in, I do this every Friday at 12 noon. I interview a different guest every week. Next week, it's going to be another international guest, actually, not from Greece. Next week's are from England, Andrew and Pete. They're really fun. So tune in next Friday, 12 noon New York time, different times, different places. And I'm Christine Gritmon with Christine Gritmon Inc., social media for small business. And thanks very much. See you next week.